Hey everyone, it's me, John Walther, and it's a quick little tutorial showing you how to set up transparent materials in Unreal with Nanite and the new Substrate Materials. So in order to do this, first of all, you need to make sure you have Substrate Materials enabled. This is enabled by default on new projects, but if you created your Unreal project on an old version, like I did, I think I was on 5.4 when I created this originally. So I didn't have this on by default, so make sure that's on. And you also need hardware ray tracing, so use hardware ray tracing when available, this one, and support hardware ray tracing. So make sure those are on. And then you can have these new blend modes in your material editor. So if you go look at the material I did here, if you go on the material properties on a new material, you can recreate this. You set your blend mode to translucent gray transmittance. This is one of the new blend modes that Substrate added. There's also this one, colored transmittance only, and translucent colored transmittance. Apparently this one has the best quality, but I couldn't tell the difference, so we're going to use this one because according to the documentation, this one has the best performance. So we're going to use this one. You also need to enable refraction. So refraction method, set it to index of refraction, although you'll see in a minute that this doesn't make a huge difference. And then, yeah, the material, very simple. I basically have parameters for color, spec, roughness, opacity, and then here I have the refraction. Here I've only exposed this parameter, so you could expose these ones as well, but you'll see in a second that it doesn't really make a huge difference. So now if we go on the material instance, you can start to play with these properties, right? So if I set the opacity much lower, you see it's basically transparent, and I have a reflection as well of the back, what's behind us here. And if I go on the stores here, you can see it's transparent. We don't have any interiors for the stores, so you just see the marble wall behind it. But you can see it is transparent. There's a small gap here, and you have the reflection behind us. Put the opacity up to like 0.9, see we actually get pretty good reflections. Not perfect, not amazing. There's obviously some noise and some weird artifacting going on there, but it's really not that bad. And if I go back to the original master material and I set this to opaque instead of translucent, it's even worse. It's just awful, right? This is completely incorrect look. It doesn't look at all like what the reflection should. So this was kind of what we discovered by accident by messing around with this, is we get the best reflections actually with this new translucent mode, right? So if I put this to like 0.8 or 0.9, you get pretty decent reflections, at least by comparison to what we were just looking at, right? So let's play with some of the other parameters here. If I turn the refraction off, you'll see it doesn't really do much. Very subtle effect, right? So you don't even need to do this if you're trying to recreate this. You could just skip that entirely. If you turn the roughness up, you'll get more of like a frosted glass look, which is kind of cool. But it also has this kind of like lumen flickering when you move the camera that you see a lot. Here it doesn't look too bad, but if I put this to like 0.2, you see you kind of get this kind of lumen flickering look that you get a lot of the time with lumen. So it's not great. I think it looks pretty good at 0.01. The specular I have at 1 because if I reduce it, it just reduces the brightness and the colors. So maybe you like that more for your look, but I prefer having the bright reflection personally. And if you reduce the opacity, you can actually get very interesting look. Like here, for example, it's transparent, but you can see the very nice reflection, right? Or even here, I don't have the interiors of the storefront, but you could imagine like if there was an interior here, you would be able to see it, and you would still have a nice reflection like we're seeing here, right? So kind of like what this glass wall is letting us kind of see. So that's super cool. Um, so one thing to note is if you check your Nanite mask, for some reason, my storefronts are showing up. And I think the reason for this is that I have two material IDs, and one of them is this painted wood. And I guess Nanite doesn't want a mesh to have two different blend modes if you're using the transparency, because if I set the wood to use the glass material, all of a sudden it's showing up green. So it is using Nanite, which is cool. It just has this weird bug because it's Unreal and because it's experimental. So do not use this in production. You should never use experimental features in production. It's just really bad habit that a lot of people have that gets them in trouble. If you really want to use this in production, make sure you get the blessing of your graphics programmer. But even then, I personally wouldn't risk it. But it's definitely fun to experiment with and see what we can hopefully get something even better in the future. So there you go. I hope that was useful for you, and have a good one.